And welcome once again to Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, and horror as a writer, artist, and editor. Sorry, the cat just running down. Anyway, hope you're having a good week so far. It is Monday, January 25th, and we do our Monday comics reviews. Usually the books that I got the week before or books that I haven't gotten to reading yet. So let's get to this thing and get started. This week we're going to cover BACKTRACK number 9 and 10 for $3.99 each. Publisher Oni Press, writer Brian Jones, artist Jake Elphick, color by Doug Garbark. Genre science, fiction, action, adventure, and what it's about in the final two issues of this story, the drivers of the Quellex 500. Quellex is the kind of time master that's running the race. So whatever they're calling this time jump race is they go jumping from different periods of time. Figure out the only way that any of them are going to make it through this alive and get home is to be united in how they do things. They get the clue that they need to escape to the next jump point, and escape the pirate horde that they were in the last issue. But Cow, I guess that's how her name is pronounced, decides to stay behind in that timeline. Jackson's true agenda gets revealed at this point at the next jump point that they got to, and how he's basically been a spy for Quellex the entire time, and thus Allison Levy, our main lead hero, has to make a choice that could cost her everything. My thoughts on this is that the story fell short of the finish line. It's telegraphed, and there's no real twist at the end, even though the author is basically announcing his clever twist right there on the page in the dialogue. Advice to fellow writer: if you're explaining your story to the audience like they can't figure it out, you have failed in the writing. Worse, there's supposed to be a sequel series to this book at some point with Allison and one of the other drivers still time traveling, trying to fix whatever they're going to fix. Yeah. The end of the story is one would expect. There was no twist and a very predictable ending. Just let it be and try to come up with something better. These last two issues really were disappointment for the finale, and it kind of brought the overall rating of the series down to a 3 out of 5, which is just average series. It had been a 4. It fell short of the mark at the end. And let's look at some of the artwork by Jake Elphick and colors by Doug Garbark. Quellex is the glowing green guy there in the center there. And he's explaining to them how Jackson's been a spy for them all and stuff. And so now they've all agreed that they're going to be on the same side and everything. Mm-hmm. This is where Cow tells them that she's staying behind at the old pirate timeline. That's what she wants. She's got some sort of cancer, is going to die anyway, so just have fun and adventure, and that's where she can find it so good. And so they all fly back out into the next jump point, in which case Jackson's going to fall into a river of lava, and Allison realizes this, so she has to win the race, and she wins the race. Cuts into the Quellex's thing, gets the device to go wherever she wants to go in time and fix things. Instead of going back to save her brother who died, she goes back and saves Jackson, of course. And by doing that, she completely throws everything up out of whack for Quellex and gets him in a little trouble. And she takes Jackson back to help his son, who also has a type of cancer that needs to be corrected. And only it's before she's taken him to a point in time where they have a chance of saving him, because they'll be able to tell he's got the sickness and treat it before it's too late. All right, well, okay, something's messed up here. Let me check something real quick. I'm getting some messages over here on Facebook. Basically, just a couple of people saying, yeah, we see you're here. Don't see any comments in the videos. Okay. All right. My computer was being foolish. Now we can go on to the next book. And that is Impossible Jones Volume 1, Grin and Gritty hardcover for $35. The publisher is Panic Button Press. That is Carl Kiesel's self-publishing imprint. And writer and inker is Carl Kiesel. Penciler is David Hahn. Colorist is Tony Avina. Lettering by Richard Starkings and Comicraft, with Josh Rochelle for the Impossible Jones logo. And the genre is supervillain, not superhero, but supervillain comedy. What it's about: Impossible Jones is a thief who finds herself trapped inside a quantum generator, and her physical body is destroyed and reassembled 3 days later, in kind of an homage to Dr. Manhattan of the Watchmen fame, where she reappears as a shapeshifter a la Plastic Man or the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic. As she tries to discern who did this to her so she can exact revenge, she gets mistaken as the city's newest superhero. Can she pull off the biggest con ever by convincing everyone? Whoops. This thing's got it all messed up. I don't know why it's done this, but let me see if I can fix it real quick here. By convincing everyone that she's a hero instead of a villain, of course. Let me see if I can, why it did this. Okay, I see what happened. Something got messed up on the graphic. Okay. That's all right. So basically, yeah, can she convince the city and other heroes that she is a superhero, and while she's still trying to do criminal activities is her thing. Now, something got messed up on my graphics, unfortunately. So I'm just going to say I look forward to the next installment on the book, and we'll talk more about this on Thursday, because Carl Kiesel is going to be my guest this Thursday on the roundtable chat. But there is one thing I do find a little bit confusing on the book, and that's how he has some of the swear words blocked out in the lettering, but has other words that, while they're not swear words, wouldn't exactly be appropriate for a younger reader. So I'll discuss that with him later on. But I think the book is for ages 13 up, and I give it a 5-star rating. Let's look at the artwork. It's just very funny, very open. David Hahn's art is nice and open, clean. Carl does a nice job on the inks as well. And I think Tony Avina's colors, I won't say they make it pop, but I mean, it's just very nicely done. Has that nice cell shading type look. Kind of like Batman Animated Adventures, but yet different too. So I do like the MacGuffin necklace kind of joke. And this is what I mean by the cuss word being blocked out. It's kind of like, okay, you know what the word is, does it, and then you have goddamn and open, if you're going to have the F word blocked out, then why would you have goddamn, and then the next page after this, he uses the word bastard, but, so like I say, it might be a little bit, it's definitely a PG-13 comic type thing. This is another piece of part of the story where she's attacking a character named Homewrecker, who has kidnapped her friend from her thieving gang that she may or may not have been romantically involved with before she got transformed into this character. Streaming. Oh yeah. Okay. There we go. Sorry. Our next book is The STARR Conspiracy for $24.95. This was previously published as Leo Roa in the European market. The publisher is Humanoids Publishing. The writer-artist is Juan Jimenez, with a script translation by Justin Kelly. The genre is science fiction mystery comedy, and what it's about is an aspiring young journalist ends up an unwitting chess piece in a strange mystery involving a murder, missing data, and the identity of the space pirate Captain Drake. When Leo, that's the journalist, when his friend is murdered in a plot to destroy data concerning Captain Drake, he must run for his life when he realizes that the missing data is still in his possession. Along the way, he faces angry alien pets, starship chases, a love-hungry villain, and an army of pirates as he stumbles across the answers to the mystery. To keep it short and sweet, the story's mind fluff, not very well plotted. The lead character is a total goof, and while he is a worthy lead that you can cheer for and care about enough to read the story, the real reason that you're buying the book, if you buy this book, is for the artwork by Jimenez, which is absolutely stunning. I do not think this is Jimenez's best work story-wise, but visually it's worth checking out if you can find it elsewhere on sale. And I would not buy it for the full $25. If you can get it cheaper on sale on Amazon or something, go for it. But don't pay the full price, in my opinion. Ages 16 and up. And here's some of the artwork. And this is one of his early on. He gets in and he puts just a little coded receiver on the ship, this pirate ship, that says then he tells him, surrender or else, because I've put a bomb on your ship. And he didn't. So they let the people go and he gets away with it. Later on, he's being chased by other people for the data, and this star pet kind of thing gets loose and gets out of his ship and attacks the other ship. That's his brother, who wants to be a cool musician, band guitarist. And then this is another scene where they're chasing him down and trying to get a hold of him. And then they got time travel, where they go back into the prehistoric era. And they get him pulled back. Overall, it's not a bad story. I guess I gave it a 3.5. What did I give it? 3.5, I believe. But like I said, you're buying it for the artwork. And our last set today is We Live number 1 through 4 from publisher Aftershock Comics. Writers are Anaki and Roy Miranda. Artist is Anaki Miranda. Colors by Ava De La Cruz with letters by Dave Sharp. And the genre is science fiction. I have reviewed number 1 and number 2 before, but I couldn't find the earlier stuff on earlier episodes. I gave it some pretty good reviews. Unfortunately, it's kind of gone downhill, but let's talk about it. The year is 2084, and Earth has changed, racked by calamities and crawling with monsters. The last remaining humans face a dangerous existence. Earth has been sent a message from the deepest reaches of space, a dark countdown to the extinction of all humanity. But there is hope. 5,000 children will be rescued by these mysterious message senders. This is the journey of Hototo, which is that small red thing. He's in a kind of a superhero costume with a silly helmet. He's one of the lucky 5,000, but only if his teenage sister Tala, which is the one standing next to him in issue 1 there, can safely deliver him to the nearest beacon before time runs out. Like I said, I could have sworn I reviewed the first 2 issues in earlier episodes, but I couldn't find the graphics for them, and I didn't have time to surf the videos for them, so I'm revisiting the entirety of the series. The first issue does an excellent job of setting a tone and concept for the reader, and it follows through quite well in issue 2, but as it begins to lose the plot by the end of issue 3, and issue 4 is making me wonder if the creators really understand how to plot a comic, or if they're writing a video game script, or just something else entirely. In issue 1, as you will see by the graphic I'll show in a moment, it's explained that these 5,000 children who are selected get these alien devices attached to their arm, and if you try to remove this alien device and put it on another child, the device will die because it's a living organism that bonds to the original host. Thus, neither kid will get to leave Earth. So once you've established this rule, I expect that rule to be followed. And this is the graphic I'm talking about. Don't be like Bobby's dad. Jimmy found himself a rescue bracelet. Jimmy's a lucky kid, no doubt. But Bobby's dad felt envy. It was unfair that his son couldn't share the same fate as Jimmy. So he took the device and then put it on Bobby, and it didn't work. Because there's a symbiotic mechanism that connects to the blood of the person of its original host. And so neither one of them get to do it. Now, the events of these 4 issues are taking place over a matter of days. Not weeks, not months, not years, days. You have established that you cannot remove the alien bracelet without effectively killing the bracelet. This is a very important plot, very important point to the plot of the story when we get to issue 4, so bear with me. Now, as I said, issues 1 and 2 are very well done. Tala and Hototo are fairly represented, though Tala seems more like an 11 or 12-year-old than a teenager to me visually. Their transport group to the beacon gets trashed, and Tala and Hototo are paired up with the only other 2 survivors, Humbo, who is another young person who has a bracelet like Hototo, but only has one arm. His other arm is a cybernetic because it was torn off in an unrelated incident, and his companion protector, who is called Alice, who is a Bengal Ripper, which is a giant It's an evolved giant purple tiger baboon. Humbo comes across a large mecha armor and salvages it because he's an electronics whiz, but he doesn't really know how to operate it, and he sets off the rocket boosters, and Alice chases after him, leaving Tala and Hototo alone, where they're captured off panel by unseen adversaries by the time Humbo and Alice return. Issue number 3 establishes a doctor who has been tasked to try to cure one of the many viruses that have now overtaken Earth and evolved, which has turned many humans into a plant-like zombie people called molders. And yes, he has figured a way to temporarily stave off the effects of the virus by eating the hearts of healthy humans. So he's basically this walking zombie cannibal, and he and his buddies have captured Tala and Hototo. He's about to feed on Tala when Humbo and Alice crash the lab and rescue her. They now have to move on and get to the train that will get them to the beacon, only to discover at the end of the third issue that there are now religious zealots who have captured all the chosen kids in front of the train and wipe out the kids in front of them. Now, whether these zealots are truly religious and think it's a false pretense that the aliens are going to rescue the kids, which actually makes sense. How would you know what this mysterious aliens' plans truly are, and why only 5,000 people, and why only kids? You know, I can understand their skepticism, but are they being religious zealots, or are they just being jealous? And if they're going to die, so are everyone else. Yeah, it could be seen. It's not really well explained. Anyway, our foursome watches these kids are collected and shot dead, execution style, by these crazies as issue 3 ends. Then Humbo figures out a way to distract them in issue 4 by remote controlling the mecha and attacking them so that he and the others can get on a train, which really doesn't make sense because the Zealots could just board the train, should just board the train themselves and head to the beacon so they can wipe out everybody in one fell swoop. But, you know, who am I? Or just blow up the tracks so that nobody can get to the beacon through the train. Either way, you know. Anyway, they manage to get on the train, which is apparently automated. It takes off, and the Zealots chase it, and some manage to get on board and are going to kill the kids. And Alice has to sacrifice herself to save the other 3, or so it appears. The train gets separated, and Alice is left behind fighting the Zealots. We don't know whether or not she actually dies or not. So now we're on issue 4, and the trio make it to the beacon, and the chosen kids are being guided to the ship that's supposed to take them to wherever. Only now, Hototo and a busloads of kids with the alien bracelets are corralled into a bus, and somebody screams they're being kidnapped by yet another faction who somehow has figured out how to remove those bracelets without killing the alien tech that they just told you at the beginning of the story can't happen. So Tala gets on board another bus to chase after Hototo's bus, only to have an electromagnetic storm start up as the end of the Earth is about to take place. Now, this is where the story comes completely off the rails. You establish in issue 1 you can't remove the bracelet. Stick with that. That's the whole point of the story, is the point of Tala having to make this sacrifice for her younger brother by getting him to the beacon and letting him go and being willing to die herself. Now you come up with this bullshit that they can take the bracelet just as everything is going to hell. So tell me, where exactly is this time to transport a busload of kids to some secret and safe location from attacks to perform your procedure, which one would presume is going to take a lengthy period to perform safely, going to come from as the planet is destroying itself, and you had less than like 5 hours before everything goes completely gone and you're supposed to be getting on the ship to go? We got 2 more issues of this, and it's not making any sense to me at all whatsoever. My only conclusion is because the bracelets are now going to be exchangeable somehow, both Tala and Hototo will wind up with a bracelet and get off the planet in the end of the story. Otherwise, what the is the point of all this nonsense? Just finish the damn story at number 4, with her having to let her brother go, and then fast forward to him reading the letter when he's older and can understand why things happened the way they did. That was the whole point of the story to me. And to me, the creators are nullifying that by going in the direction that they have. It just doesn't make any sense. Because of this, what was a 4 to 5 star rating just got dropped down to a 2. very disappointing, and I have no expectation of them being able to pull this out to maybe a 3 by the end of the series. For me, sorry. Ages 16 and up, rated 2 stars. And that is our show for today. Wednesday we'll be back, and we'll let you know what I bought this week. And then on Thursday, we will have guest Carl Kiesel and possibly some other guests as well for our roundtable discussion. We'll talk a little bit more about the Impossible Jones product. Nice hardcover edition. There you go. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some other topics of discussion. In the meantime, if you want to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter at LewisBrightRave2, at DeviantArt at DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, on YouTube at Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightraven, email Quoth the Raven, LBR72 at gmail.com, or LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Mondays, we usually do the news and reviews. Didn't see a whole lot of news that was really anything I thought needed to really be shared that you wouldn't find somewhere else. Wednesdays is what did you get this week? Thursdays nights, 9 p.m. will be our roundtable talk. Again, our guest this week will be Carl Kiesel, and possibly some additional guests as well. And this Friday at 9 p.m. will be genre night. We'll be talking about science fiction and as a genre this week, and I'll be doing that solo as a host. Last 2 weeks we did horror with my co-host John Norris. We talked about horror movies and stuff and TV shows we liked. But this week will be science fiction, and we'll be talking about the, well, I'm not going to say the best, but a selection of best science fiction television and movie franchises that aren't Star Wars or Star Trek or Aliens or Predator, because those are ones that are big enough that we can do them separately in the future. So we'll talk about whatever I can find on that night. Okay. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a good weekend, or good remaining of the week, rather, I should say. A little bit tired this week. But I will see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.